when you brought this to my attention, I got to admit, my response, which was clueless to you, I knew exactly what you were talking about. I just wanted to see what you were going to say when I said, "What's the deal? What's the issue?"
Poking the bear. What's wrong with this picture?
What is wrong with this picture? So we're going to veer off here to the College World Series, and of course, Florida State is one of the 8. And if you've looked at the field, as because we talk a lot of conference, pride and rivalries, 8 teams, 4 from the SEC, 4 from the ACC in the College World Series, and of course, Florida State's there. And George pointed out to me I believe this is the official.
It's NCAA D1 baseball. I'm pretty sure was the account, not like a magazine or anything like that. It was literally NCAA.
So we will find this here in just a second. Chris is in some traffic right now, so we're awaiting Chris. Hopefully he can make it, but that may not happen. So I just got that message from him, but we'll pull it up here. Here we go. And so this is the official, where they're promoting the event. They want to highlight the teams and the star players and that sort of thing. You've seen these kind of deals a million times, but this is what the 2024 College World Series promotion looks like from Omaha and the NCAA. And folks just kind of take that in and see if there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah, so this right here is just a microcosm of what we preach. People say, "Oh, y'all are just sensitive conspiracy theorists. You're always looking for this. You're always looking for that." No, guys, we've talked about it all. We've talked about the ACC. They got to pay the most back. We got snubbed from the playoff. There's all these things that happens. If a SEC team happens to be number 11, they add a number 11 to the top 11. So going into this tournament, it was pretty controversial. 11 SEC teams get in. Now 8 ACC teams get in, so it's only 3 more, but still, it's wild, vastly more than everybody else. And if you ask me, ACC extremely competitive, but the RPIs of the ACC versus the RPIs of the SEC, nowhere close. And again, just like in football, it's all circular reasoning. Well, they're playing all these tough SEC teams. Okay, I'm not going to go down that path. We don't have to get too deep into it. Let's just get into what happened. 11 SEC teams got in, 8 ACC teams got in. Well, at least 4 of the SEC teams that got in have been eliminated by ACC teams, either in the regional or the super regional, to a point where, like our amazing host said, 4 ACC teams, 4 SEC teams. Okay, and pretty spectacular fashion that Florida State did it. Sweeping games, not losing. I haven't lost a game in a long time. Good story for Florida, all that stuff. But long story short, 4-4. And when you look at this thing, I mean, I'm just looking at it. I'm pretty far away. But I can see Texas A&M, I can see Texas, and I can see Kentucky. That's all I can see at first blush. Then I zoom in a little bit. Oh, there's Florida. There goes my lights. There's Florida. You can't see, their logo or anything, but they're still giant. They're still right up there up top. And over in the top right corner, a little bit smaller than the SEC guys, but still decent size. You see NC State there. But I challenge anybody without pulling out a magnifying glass to be able to find their logo or recognize them.
I had to blow it up.
Literally, you have to blow it up. That can't be like NC State has to have a picture with the wolf, something better. But anyways, getting down to the last 3 ACC teams and the ire, that pissed me off, and I posted it. Nobody cared about it. Nobody really caught this but me, so that's why I wanted it. It was just on my mind. I had to talk about it. You can see there in the bottom left, there's FSU. If you really pull out your microscope, you can tell that's them. You can't make out a logo. You can't make out Seminoles, anything like that. But, only colorway close to that, that's Florida State. And to their right, UNC, single-digit losses on the entire year, including the tournament. They're in white and blue. They're even worse than FSU. You can't even make out, I think, a single letter of Tar Heels. The guy's helmet's off or his hat's off. You can't see nothing, literally nothing. And then Virginia's over there. Luckily, his bat is just over to where if you pull out the magnifying glass, you can see Virginia. And this may not be nothing to anybody. It may be just a damn poster. But this is from the NCAA itself. And it just goes to show why Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, anybody that is serious about sports, it goes past football. It's time to get out. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, I sent this to one of my SEC friends because I was like, figured surely he could laugh and get a joke out of it. No, he just, oh, that's the teams, that's that. Da, da, da. And look, okay, if your argument was, okay, the top 3 seeds were SEC teams, the first 3 seeds are the national seeds. Okay. So that means Kentucky, Tennessee, A&M, they need to be big. What the hell is Florida doing up there? Florida was a 3 in the regional. They weren't a 3 as a national seed. No, they were a 3 in their regional. I believe they were either 28 and 27 or, something like that. 20, 28, a 500 ball club. Okay, they get an opportunity. They knock out Clemson in the super regional. So that validates everybody. Oh, well, they obviously deserve to be there since they won. That's another argument that drives me nuts. No, they just got lucky. I mean, 4 SEC teams have been put out, literally 4 by ACC teams that you see on the screen. So yeah, it left me heated. It's like, I wish Chris was here to say, he might laugh at me and say it's stupid, but yeah, that was my feelings on it. Just a microcosm of everything that's going on. And the ACC is and will continue to be the whipping boy because they allow stuff like this to happen. If this was the SEC down at the bottom, they've even got like overlays, like the shiny graphic, like literally covering up the FSU in North Carolina. It's not even clear. So if I didn't make thumbnails, if I didn't do this kind of for a living, if I didn't do this every day, 7 days a week, I could understand maybe he just didn't think about it. Maybe this is just the way it fit together. But no, anybody that's ever made one of these, you have everybody's feelings in your mind. You're thinking, oh, well, I've got this guest, on. I can't make myself huge and then little. All these things, this just goes into graphic design. This was the ACC. Let's hide them and let's show the SEC. And it doesn't make any sense. When you look at Florida State as a baseball team, maybe you can argue Virginia and NC State, North Carolina. Florida State does numbers. Baseball, football, it don't matter. They were number 8 national seed. I guess their lowest one. But no, Florida wasn't a national seed. So that's my rant on that.
And what you just pointed out, George, is a great point because I am no marketing guy. But at the same time, yes, I will say that we're not talking about, we grabbed some guy that threw together a thumbnail on a YouTube channel, because I've done some things where somebody got been out of shape over some perception of a title or a thumbnail. And then I looked at it and I thought, okay, well, I'm not a professional. It didn't cross my mind. Yeah, one guy's bigger than the other guy, that sort of thing. Do you know how much money is spent and how much scrutiny is put into something like this that is going to be all over social media, the internet, on television, and so forth and so on? This had to pass the eyes of so many people. I'm assuming every school that's involved and the conferences had to sign off on that and give that a look. And that was just okay with the ACC. So that's it. Yeah, it is a bit ridiculous when you put it in those terms as well. And again, let's understand that, yeah, these networks are trying to make money, but this is not a situation where, so college baseball is a very regional sport, and this is the one time a year where it becomes basically a national sport. There are going to be people watching the College World Series because they do every year that, of course, they like baseball, but they probably watch Major League Baseball. Shoot, the Major League Baseball announcing teams do a lot of College World Series games and get involved and so forth, as we see with the Little League World Series that's become so popular in August. So my point here is that there's not a Caitlin Clark up there that you want to say, okay, put her 8 times larger than the LSU player because that's why people are watching. Nobody knows who these guys are. The brands are the teams. These guys might become more popular after they hit 3 home runs in a College World Series, but as it stands right now, nobody knows who these guys are outside of their fan bases. So it's all about the brands. So the brands should be represented in an equal way.
Facts. I couldn't have said it better myself. You took the emotion out of it and really said it in a beautiful way. And I couldn't agree more. It's just ridiculous. And we'll see what happens. You mentioned that, it's bigger in the Southeast. It's really a regional sport. And it's true. And this has kind of been the argument I've always had on conference superiority and the things of that nature. And the SEC, it just means more. Look, there's part of that's right. The Southeast, it just means more. Okay, and that's why the ACC is second in national championships. They're right there, second or third, when you talk about draft picks and those things that I've mentioned on here. It's because they've got teams in the Southeast. And when you look at that photo, what is it? It's 8 teams in the Southeast. Regardless of what freaking conference they're in, you've got the representative for the state of North Carolina, 2 of them. You've got Florida State, and you've got Virginia, another Southern team. And then I don't, whatever it is, I don't know what makes Kentucky something special that they need to be up there of being in the SEC over a Florida State or a UNC. So, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And Chris jumps in with a comment saying the university doesn't get a say, which I was wondering about that, but the conference definitely does. And this is why I expect nothing different. So, yeah, I'm right with there on Chris on that one for sure.
Thank you, Chris. I misspoke, but I certainly knew that the conference would have had to have seen that before that would continue. I was around ESPN for 19 years, and certainly we had things called that they still air institutionals. And you talk about how important it was to represent these conferences in these schools properly. At ESPN, when we were broadcasting whatever the collegiate sport, you could drop, let's say, the previous game went to 4 overtimes and, we didn't get to the second game of the doubleheader, let's say a college basketball game until halftime or whatever, or into the second half, that sort of thing. You had to air the institutionals for those schools and those conferences above. If you had to drop the highest priced ad in that game, it had to go because you had to properly represent the schools and the conferences for every college event.
Facts. I mean, it's just common sense. It's like you can argue which one's more profitable, which one's more sellable, but it's like everybody fought to get there. There's literally half and half representation. And if you're going to argue who did better in the tournament, it's hands down the ACC. The ACC has dominated the SEC in this tournament. Hands down, period, end of the story. 11, 8. Okay, 4. I'm not a mathematician here, but that's solid, pretty close to 50% for the ACC, somewhere around 30 something, for the SEC. It's like, well, we had 4, 5, 6 guys eliminated in the first round, but Florida made it through. So that shows just how good Florida is.
Yeah, and even if
are you hearing me good or?
Yeah, you cut out there for about 5 seconds. But even if we were going from a historic standpoint, like saying, okay, let's say this was the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and the Final Four was North Carolina, Kentucky, and then like Fresno State and Utah or something. And they wanted to put, boom, North Carolina, Kentucky, boom, because they're the big brands. Kentucky in baseball, they've never gone to a College World Series. They have been completely off the radar. Florida State is a great baseball brand for 40, 50 plus years in college baseball and have been to many College World Series. So that's not even an angle to it.
Facts. You're preaching, man. I agree 100%. It's like, and we talk about the same thing with football. You look at the numbers. It's like, no matter how black and white the numbers are, people will still argue. But yeah, we don't have to stay on it all day, but I appreciate you for indulging me because that was just a major microcosm. And you see why we have a court date coming up in Leon County on June 18th. And we have a Board of Trustees meeting coming up on June 20th. And we're getting the hell out of here. Another date to look for, June 30th, which is the date that the ACC has set. That's how long we have for the thing to crumble. You would need 7 or 8 teams to step up by June 30th, which is looking less and less likely as we move forward. But there is that court date on the 18th, and there is that Board of Trustees meeting set on the 20th. So we will definitely have our ears and eyes open and ready to see what the next piece of news that does come out of that situation is, because get us out of here. It's got to stop. The disrespect and it affects you on the field. I know what we just talked about doesn't affect us on the field. But again, it's just a microcosm of the disrespect or lack of respect, whatever you want to call it, that goes on. At the beginning of this thing, I'm thinking I'm proud of ESPN. We were on ESPN1 in the super regional the whole way through. It's like it seemed like, okay, we're on equal footing with everybody. And then I just seen this. I know it doesn't have anything to do with ESPN. It's NCAA graphic, but still, It just set me off. It's like no matter what we do. So please, Florida State, kick Tennessee's butt. I would really love to see us throw down the #1 national seed and just really kick their butt.